Rites of Ascension by C. V. Baroni. Chapter 10. Brand New Heights, Same Old Lows. I feel it important to mention this following announcement is from the author, not from myself. This chapter is dedicated to my friend John, who recently passed away from a rare form of cancer. He was the kind of person who would grace our role-playing group with a true paladin, for when he left the table, he didn't leave high ideals behind. Kindness, laughter, and understanding. He will be truly missed. This one's for you, John. Rest in peace. Well then, Luna said, stretching casually, it seems my lesson for Twilight has ended for the evening. 'Tis just as well. I'm afraid raising the moon sapped much of her wellspring. Yeah, no kidding. I'm exhausted just thinking about it. Spike threw his hands in the air in mock defeat. Rainbow nodded and stretched out as if she were waking up from one of her signature power naps. Doing the work of a few hundred ponies? I can't say I've done that much at once. Only a few dozen. But yeah, I get it. Our little egghead is something else. Applejack looked at her two friends, then scuffed the ground with a forehoof. Is something wrong, Applejack? Luna asked, a pleasant, welcome smile not unlike her sister's, inviting her inquiry. Wellspring, Princess? Applejack asked. Rainbow nearly snorted. It's a pony's magic source, like a battery. Come on, even I know that. Oh, that makes sense, I suppose. Must be mighty draining. Didn't know unicorns were batteries. Luna shook her head. You misunderstand, Applejack. All ponies have well springs, which produce magic. The different tribes simply have different types of magic, which are pushed to different parts of their bodies by their ley lines. Applejack gave the princess a blank stare. You may think of ley lines like arteries of magic. I am surprised they did not teach this to you in school. The farm pony lowered her head in deference, and perhaps a little shame. No offense, Princess, but I was homeschooled. There weren't no school in Ponyville when I was a filly. Applebloom was the first to get a real education. Really? Spike scratched his head. What about Rarity? I thought she got her cutie mark making costumes for a school play. Nuh-uh, Rainbow interjected. Rarity won't tell you this unless you ask her, point blank. But she's not from Ponyville. She moved there after I did. Her family's from a town that could just barely be called a far-off Winneapolis suburb. She only moved to Ponyville because she couldn't afford Canterlot back then. Her parents moved a little closer later on. Spike snapped his fingers in realization. That explains her parents' accent. Not just theirs. Rainbow leaned in, grabbing the dragon with a foreleg. If you get her really angry, like when I replaced her fabrics with light green bed sheets, Rarity will slip into it. Her normal accent is fake. She learned it trying to get into the Canterlot marketplace. That's how I found out. Good ol' epic prank number 87. Sad to say, I feel that shedding her old accent in favor of a Canterlot one was a prudent measure. Some ponies in this city are... well, I shan't go on, or I might not stop. Luna shook her head. Well then, in lieu of a rant, shall we all have dinner together in the gardens? Their beauty goes so unnoticed at night, and I would love for you all to see it under my... or should I say, Twilight's moon. Heh, like you need to convince me to eat dinner, Spike chuckled. I'm with the dragon. Rainbow started to hover. You coming, AJ? The farm pony slowly walked up into the now moving group. Yeah, I suppose I could eat. Wouldn't be polite to turn down an invite from the princess, now would it? I have to admit, this is really nice. Reminds me of the orchard. Applejack pranced just a tad as she made her way around the gardens with her friends, letting the grass scrunch under her hooves. It was the only place in the castle where she could feel like herself. Ah, Here we are. The princess rounded a corner, leading them to a clearing already set up with a picnic blanket. Gentle colts, if you would be so kind. The few butlers that had been following them went to work quickly, refreshing the blanket and lighting a few candles. They even pulled out a couple bottles of wine and quickly served them each a glass. The next things they brought out were a bit odd, however, as an easel and an unfinished painting were set up, along with a brush and palette. "Princess, you paint?" Applejack asked. "Indeed! You see, dear Applejack, we alicorns like to take on certain talents and aspects that we feel fit with our titles. I am not merely the mistress of the moon, stars, and night, but of art as well. That includes painting, poetry, all kinds of art." She took a long sip of wine, resting the glass on her lips for a moment. "Of course, being an alicorn also lets me drink like a fiend. I'm honestly surprised my drinking didn't get me before I gained Earth Pony magic to heal from it." Applejack blinked. Equestria to AJ, you there?" Cyan Hoof waved in front of her eyes. "Sorry about that," the farmer swallowed. "I suppose I just never really thought of your majesties being Earth Ponies, too." Luna put on a warm smile. "Indeed, we embody the properties of all 3 tribes. In fact, come here and look closely." The princess got up and put a hoof in the grass, just off of the blanket. Applejack scratched her head in response. "Look closely at the grass around my hoof." Rainbow and Spike got up and leaned down with Applejack, to which she breathed an internal sigh of relief. At least she wouldn't look silly on her own. She looked, but it didn't seem to be any different from plain old grass. "It just looked like grass," Spike blissfully said, so she wouldn't have to. "Keep looking," Luna replied, and a very faint glow enveloped the ground around her hoof. Then Applejack saw it. The grass was growing. Right before her eyes, she could actually see it grow. Watching grass grow. Never thought that'd be exciting. Earth Pony farmers, like herself, used the same magic. It was what allowed them to harvest apples multiple times per year instead of just once. This, though, was very far beyond a few extra harvests. If they wanted it, the princesses could be the best farmers in history. Whoa! Rainbow hovered a bit over the spot. I knew Earth Ponies could grow plants by, caring about them, but I've never watched it happen. Alicorns are, by their very definition, the embodiment of all 3 races. Although Tia and I were both born unicorns, Ascension graced us with the other tribal aspects, giving us insight into their existence. She took a long sip of wine. When we finally defeated Discord after centuries of fighting, we were left with a broken, shattered world. Think of it. No homes, no clean, running water. Roads were dirt paths trodden by our ponies, and the lingering chaos magic meant that they sometimes literally changed where they led, if they led anywhere at all. We were living wild again. Over years, decades, even centuries, we searched for and gathered our scattered ponies into the nation you see before you. We did all we could to care for all of our ponies, and we will continue to do so for all our lives. In you all, we see your ancestors, what we, and more importantly, they, had to go through, no matter their tribe. Applejack gave a slight bow. "I've never heard about all that." "Thanks, Princess. I know some of us Earth Ponies don't really get all that you do for us, but the apples do. It means a lot." "No thanks are needed, but I shall accept nonetheless." Rainbow opened her mouth as if she was going to say something, then closed it, going back into a ponderous posture. She looked quite concerned. "Is something wrong, Rainbow?" Spike asked. "Yes, I've not seen you make that face before, Rainbow." Luna began to look concerned as well. "Tell us, what is troubling you?" A Rainbow tapped a forehoof on her chin, then sighed. Luna, Princess... She trailed off for a second. Come now, Rainbow. I can assure you, I am not nearly as easy to anger as rumors suggest. Feel free to speak your mind. The Pegasus gritted her teeth, breathing through them. Princess, are you faster than me? A pen dropping could have sounded like an explosion in the moment following the question. Yet, Rainbow didn't let up. If you're some superpowered Earth pony, wouldn't that make you a superpowered Pegasus, too? Rainbow reasoned. Applejack had to admit, it made sense. Luna bowed her head. Yes, Rainbow. I am faster than you. Much faster. Tia is faster still. Rainbow dropped her head in what looked like a half bow, and half being stabbed in the chest. Luna shrunk down a little. I am sorry, Rainbow Dash. Please, I wish to continue being your friend. I could not lie to you. Rainbow held up a hoof. I'm alright. I appreciate the honesty. It's just hard to hear that. I've always been the fastest Pegasus. Turns out it's a bucking lie. Rainbow! Applejack yelled under her breath. Watch that tongue! I forgive her, Luna quickly interceded. Truly. Yeah, Spike agreed. I mean, it's gotta be rough after all that work, going from first to fourth like that. Third, Rainbow snapped. No pony else is faster. Only the princesses. I can at least live with that. Spike shook his head. Remember what Twi did in the dining room? Rainbow froze in shock for a second, twitched first her eye, then a hoof. Spike sighed, then elaborated. Since Pegasus magic comes out via the spine and wings, that's just what magic her spine could use. As soon as she gets wings... Now her feathers were twitching, or perhaps buzzing. Applejack wasn't aware that they could do that. Luna swooped in, stretching legs and wings around the Pegasus. It will be okay. Her words were almost echoing, but in an astonishingly soothing manner. Neither Tia nor I speak much about our speed or true power. We cannot. It must be hidden so our ponies will not become dependent on us. It is our wish, our joy, for them to strive for their own excellence, as you have. As I know you will continue to. Please, do not be upset. If it is some comfort, know that you are still the fastest true Pegasus. Rainbow started to struggle, and freed herself from the princess's grasp, or rather, was released. I know all that, she stammered, somewhat inelegantly rushing away from Luna. I'll be fine, really. I just need to get some airtime. I'll talk to you all later. Rainbow! Luna yelled, but it was too late. The Pegasus was already up and away. The princess looked forlornly at Applejack. I didn't mean to hurt her. I wouldn't sweat it too much, Princess. Applejack kept her head down a bit on instinct, but tried to make her voice as reassuring as she could. The Rainbow always bounces back from stuff like this. It just takes her time, is all. And I know she'd never blame ya. I pray you are right, Applejack. Truly. A flurry of activity emerged from the hedges as a few butlers rushed in with sandwiches and other small edibles. Applejack mused at how the kitchens must have panicked over something a princess would expect to be served quickly, even if it was something so simple. At least she wasn't with them this time. Well, it seems our dinner has arrived. A bit less delicious than it would have been with another friend, but here all the same. Shall we? Luna was right. It would have been better with Rainbow there, and it seemed like there was a figurative cloud hanging over the alicorn's head. Applejack. The orange mare stood up straight at the mention of her name, though her nerves made her muscles shake ever so slightly from the princess's tone. I have something to ask of you, but before I do, know that you are completely free to refuse. In fact, I will not be upset if you say no, nor will there be any repercussions. and I won't think less of you. Luna paused and took in a long, deep breath, one great enough for Applejack to realize that the princess made even Big Mac's freakishly large lungs look downright reasonable. I would like you to be Twilight's second honor guard. I know you don't have military experience, but you are strong, and we can give you some training and advanced armor to aid you. I think having you along would help Twilight tremendously. Applejack twitched and squirmed nervously. She was being put on the spot in the most uncomfortable manner possible. She prided herself on being dependable, but here there were two groups she had to be dependable to, and they were mutually exclusive. Going with Twilight meant abandoning her family at their most vulnerable, seeing as their newest member was pregnant. On the other hoof, staying home with them meant leaving a fledgling goddess to fend for herself in her darkest hours. Applejack reached for the only answer that had served her well throughout her life. Family. I'm sorry, Princess, but I can't just leave my family. With Granny gone, I can't just take off. One season like this would be one thing, but 10 years? No, I just can't do that to them, especially Fluttershy. Luna's sad look was almost unbearable, but a short nod indicated acceptance. I'll do it. The two mares slowly turned to look at their purple friend. What? I said I'll do it. She needs me. She always has. Spike rose to his feet, his greater height and strength giving him a more mature look than either was used to. He was normally always so relaxed in how he carried himself, but now he looked almost formidable. If Twilight's in trouble, I'll be there to help, no matter what. Luna tilted her head, much like Twilight when in thought. I appreciate the offer, Spike, but I don't think Twilight is going to much care for me sending her baby dragon into battle. Baby dragon, adult pony, Spike replied, defiantly crossing his arms. Luna's eyebrow raised up. True, you would be old enough for military service as a pony. That's actually a compelling argument, but I still don't think Twilight would like... Luna turned her head with a snap and squinted, scratching her chin a little before a devious grin started to creep up onto her face. Spike, it occurs to me that a Grand Mage will be quite busy, and as such, she will need someone to assist her. Someone that knows their quirks, inside and out, and can follow them wherever they go. I can think of no other better suited than you. Well, well, Spike grinned and took a bow, happy to be of service. What made you change your mind, Princess? Applejack asked. Dragon mail, she exclaimed. Spike's ability to send messages to Celestia over vast distances will be an unimaginable help for keeping in touch. There are limitations to the spell, but it would be immensely helpful regardless. Also, Spike, you might need to stay behind the scenes or hide for missions needing discretion, since a dragon would attract attention, but otherwise you would be a monumental asset to the team. Glad to be aboard. Spike raised his hand up to Applejack, and she gave it a bump with her hoof. He really was growing up. Don't celebrate just yet, Luna warned. It's ultimately Twilight's decision, and she's going to be protective of you. Very protective. We'll need to be careful with how we word the request, but I think she can be convinced. Also, we should get you some armor. That'll have to be custom made. Last I checked, there aren't any standard suits of armor for young dragons. This might require some political finesse too, but I can handle it. Are you sure you want to go through with this? Spike just folded his arms and shot her a confident look. Luna's grin widened. Okay, fair enough. Rainbow Dash flapped her wings as she kept up the beat with her fellow flyers. A Wonderbolt's formation was directly below her. Spitfire was leading the formation. Rainbow was really only tagging along. Granted, most of the time any Pegasus attempting to do this would either be arrested or left in the dust, but being a former captain had its perks. Perks which she fully intended to take advantage of, especially after this night's revelations. Oh yeah, she cooed. This was bliss. The wind blew its way around her body, peeling off her troubles with its soothing force. With perfect memorization, she pulled up and kicked her rear hooves out, then pushed her magic in the other direction to execute a perfect pinpoint turn. A shiver rattled its way from the very tips of her ears and went all the way down to her tail. This is more like it. Yaw left, right, roll, and pitch up. She knew all these moves by heart, and they weren't even show moves. Not these ones, anyway. Shows for the foreseeable future were cancelled, as the Wonderbolts were called into active duty. At least she'd get to practice military drills with them a bit in this glorious night air. Through one of the barrel rolls, she spotted a lone Wonderbolt sitting on a cloud watching them. Soren. She banked hard out of the formation, she was just tagging along anyway, and dove down to join him. It felt kind of surreal seeing him back in the flight suit while she was only in a retired captain's jacket. "Hey," she greeted him. "Hey," he replied. This was going to be awkward for a while. "Whatever you do, girl, don't think about that trick he can do while flying. You'll fall off the cloud laughing," she thought to herself. "So," she said. "Yeah," he said. If Twilight ever invented a device that could calculate levels of awkward, she could probably set its maximum to this right here. Wait a minute, thought Rainbow. I'm Rainbow Danger Dash. I don't do awkward. So, what's the deal with you being happy with retirement? I thought you went off to do private shows in the tropics or something, Rainbow demanded. Yeah, I went to the tropics for private shows. The awkward was still off the scales, but this time it was decidedly on one end. Rainbow had an idea on how to pull out the source. Private shows for who? She asked, deliberately leaving the question open-ended. Soren was famous within the Wonderbolts for finding outs both in the sky and in conversation. Making him provide details would leave him less able to maneuver. Well, ponies I'd meet. The ones that looked interesting. Bingo. Rainbow knew exactly what was up now. You mean the ones with sweet flanks? Yes. Ha! I knew it! You weren't just putting on private shows. You were chasing tail. Soren looked down at his hooves, dejected. Sorry. Something here did not entirely compute for Rainbow, which in turn further did not compute because she thought she knew Soren fairly well at this point. What? Why, sorry. Sounds like you had a great time. What a way to retire. I suppose I can see why you wanted to stay with that. Soren lifted his head a little towards the left. You're not mad? Why would I be? Soren gave an uncharacteristic flop on the cloud and laid down. Thanks, Celestia. I thought you'd hate me. Hello? We broke it off. I wouldn't be mad at you even if you were chasing mares all over Equestria. Former Wonderbolt does wonders for finding bedmates. Or so I've been told. Soren let out one soft chuckle. I should have known I was just being worrisome. I'm like that. Yeah, you are. I'm really not mad, Soren. I'm glad you had a good time. Wait. Soren looked back up at her. You aren't still, in love with me, were you? Rainbow winced a little as she said it. They'd broken it off, so she was morally in the clear, but she still didn't like being disloyal. I thought so, Celestia. I thought so for the longest time. But I don't think I ever was, and that left me feeling more guilty than anything. I'm so sorry. Rainbow thought this over for an instant, but ultimately couldn't find anything to object over. Meh, she yelled, laying back down on her back to stare at the sky. So it didn't work out. Big deal. At least we had some fun. A genuine laugh of relief poured out of Soren's lips. That we did. I owe you so much, Rainbow. Rainbow went wide-eyed and rolled over on her side. Owe me? If anything, I owe you. Your recommendation for the captaincy, even if I hated it. All those private lessons. All those private lessons. And I did find out about your recommendation for letting me join the Wonderbolt in the first place. Secrets in the unit don't stay secret from the captain for long, you know. Even less so their second-in-command and his closeness to the unit. And no, I owe you. Without you, without us, I never would have figured this out. Rainbow rolled back over and sat up. Figured out what? Soren chuckled. Then I'm a lousy womanizer. It's not for me. Losing you meant figuring out that I needed some pony. Just one some pony to be with. Yes, you may laugh now. Rainbow Dash did laugh, but only a little. So that's the big revelation. One of the biggest smooth talkers in the bolts needs a special some pony to feel complete. Yeah, big ol' ego pie, eat it up. Random mares just aren't the same after you. Soren closed his eyes and braced himself a little. Rainbow couldn't help herself as she put her head right down in front of Soren's and gave him her best seductive leer as he reopened his eyes. So, do you want to find a cloud somewhere and do it? She asked. Rainbow expected him to either run or pounce her. He surprised her with his irritated face. No, I don't. I'm sorry, Dash, but I'm over you. Well, unexpected, she wasn't about done teasing him. Rainbow leapt back and laid down on her back, with a poof, as cloud bits erupted and covered her. That's fine. I've already sworn my life to Twilight, anyway. That seemed to get his attention. She didn't even need to open her eyes as she laid back. She could hear it in his voice. What? You married her? Just like that? Rainbow tossed a ball of cloud at Soren's face. He didn't even try to dodge. I didn't marry her, Soren. I'm her honor guard. The next decade or so, or really as long as she needs me, I'm hers. Soren just looked at her, confused for a moment. I meant militarily. Oh. The ever-so-slight grin on Soren's face betrayed his understanding, and Rainbow pelted him with another bit of cloud. Rainbow laid down on her back, with her hooves in the air, and relaxed. This was why she loved Soren as a friend. This perfect banter and level of understanding that could only be forged by fighting alongside someone. This knowing that you're exposing your most ticklish of spots to someone, and not caring as he forces you to empty the air from your lungs and giggles. My, what do we have here? Shirking one's duty to go play with the mare? This isn't like you, Soren. What am I saying? It's exactly like you. Soren stopped tickling her as they turned to look at Spitfire. Instinct and training told Rainbow to stand at attention, but her recovering lungs and knowledge of not being in the unit anymore let her muscles relax. She answered only to Twilight now, much like Luna's night guard or Celestia's day guard. Why, want to join in? Rainbow asked. That would have been insubordination when she was in the unit, and it really felt good to let loose without the threat of rank over her. Spitfire gave her a sultry glance that genuinely stunned Rainbow for a moment. Rainbow had forgotten just how aggressive and carefree Spitfire could be with her sexuality. Don't offer if you don't mean it. Come on, Soren. We've got a lot of work to do tonight. Hey, Spitfire, Rainbow said before they had a chance to leave. Spitfire turned back to face her. Sorry about the mess I left you. Spitfire smiled a bit and turned the rest of the way around, approaching her. I'm assuming you didn't mean just your desk, she said. Yeah, Rainbow replied, letting herself look sullen. I can't believe I didn't realize how much harder leading the team was. Being the best flyer wasn't enough. Spitfire smiled. Don't worry about it. It took me a long time to find my wings there, too. Besides, Celestia's expanding the size of the team so much it's going to be filled with newbies anyway. Whole new bunch to train for military Wonderbolt service. Oh, one more thing. Spitfire grabbed her by the shoulders and smashed her lips against Rainbow's, plunging her uncomfortably long tongue down Dash's throat for a moment. When she broke it and left her, Rainbow was genuinely gagging a little. Until I'm dead and gone, you're still second best. Remember that, Dashie. The force of their takeoff knocked Rainbow clean off the cloud. Author's note. Well, enough time has passed that I found a couple scenes I could do right now, and hit the button. Sadly, this is the last time I can do that until the whole block is done. I've written up through chapter 14, but there's still a lot that can go wrong if I publish more before finishing the block. I have no idea how many chapters the block will be, ultimately. There's at least 8 to 10 scenes left to write. Probably more. Also, this chapter is subject to even further edits later. For those who don't know, my health has been in a downward spiral these last months. First stomach issues, then pain in my neck, and it turns out that pain was thyroid cancer. I had the organ removed last Friday, and I'm already getting sleepy from the lack of thyroid hormone. I won't be able to take the supplement hormone until I get radiation treatment to kill the remaining cells. I can't do that until a month or so after the surgery. Fun. This is going to slow down writing even more, sadly. I likely will not have a chapter ready for the 1-year anniversary, to my great regret. I'm just going to be too exhausted between now and then to pull off that kind of writing speed. A little bit of work on designing intrigue has also been done, but not enough to publish anything yet. I've also got a couple of other one-shots brewing for you all. You may have also noticed that the chapter header image on this one, made by Fosticorn. It's a work in progress. We're trying to figure out different styles to see what sticks, and when we come up with a good standard, we'll be updating all the chapters with new headers, including this one. Dene has been a great help already, so he needs a shout out here, even if he's probably looking at it right now and pulling out his hair. Thanks, Dene. And thank you all for your admirable patience. I hope that your trust is not misplaced. I know it's been a long wait. Fosticorn's editor's note. Now, I'm quite sure that you're all upset about the absence of Twilight from this chapter. Never fear, Chapter 10 will show our favorite purple unicorn, Alicorn's adventures. In other news, I've got exams coming up in 3 weeks. Yes, I know, ponies take priority over everything else and all that. I hope that update frequency won't be impacted too much. It's been a wild ride so far, and the roller coaster shows no signs of ending. I'd like to thank all of you for sticking with us so long, notwithstanding the months-long release cycles. Fosticorn. Updated September 4th, 2014, with updated formatting. Well, they're certainly not kidding about it being a long way from over. We're still not even halfway through Book 1, which is the shorter of the two thus far. And while it does not update quickly, one of the main advantages of coming by a decade later is that they have a long backlog written up for us to go through. Yay! That was legitimate yay, not sarcastic yay. It lacks a whole lot of excitement, but it is truthful and honest and forthright and unduplicitousness and things. Yes, it is of sound character, that sound effect. Okay, I'm just gonna go now. I hope you all enjoyed it. I don't have anything funny to say about this chapter, or insightful. I hope you all had a lovely time. I hope to see you again later. Have a pleasant time, everyone. Goodbye.